Okay, cool. Okay. So many of you are going to be in different places. Some of you will be perimenopausal, some will be right in the thick of it, some of you will be past it. However, you're still experiencing symptoms. And so then there's also this dependence on HRT. And the first I heard of it was from my mum. Now, I remember watching my mum start to go through menopause. Oh, and I felt so sorry for her because it just looked awful. And then she got some relief when she decided to go on to HRT. But then every time there was a change in her situation, with her, primarily it was the stress load. Whenever there was a change in the amount of stress that she was under, work situation or whatever, then she'd have to the dosages would have to be tweaked. And so we just witnessed our mum have to suffer through menopause. So when I started to work with hemp, it was a real game changer. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this information with you guys. So this training is for you if you're perimenopausal, in menopause, postmenopausal, if you are wanting to come off HRT, or if you still have symptoms while you're using HRT. Who is not muted? Okay. I can hear a sheep in the background. Nick, if you are on, are you able to mute the room or just let me know how I mute all?
Strangely, there's no one unmuted other than yourself. So I don't know. I can also hear those noises, but I can't see who it's coming from. Perhaps it's you, Taryn.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what's in it for you guys? So if you take a look at all these testimonials from women who have been using CBD oil, then you can see that the range of symptoms, it does vary. So notice how there are multiple different ways um, that she is experiencing the symptoms. So for example, Jody, been taking the oil and the mucka for 6 weeks now. Night sweats have completely gone. I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 6 weeks goes. I was told to always give things 3 months. That's a fair call. But listen to Vanessa Cameron. So I felt so awful. My menopause symptoms came flooding back, cold chills, burning hands, not to mention low mood and energy. Just started taking them again. Unfortunately, took a bit of time getting to me, but within a day, I'm starting to feel much better. So a lot of different ways that someone can be experiencing symptoms. Multiple different systems of the body can also be affected through menopause. So I'm going to spend a decent amount of time going through how CBD works, and how you can use it to manage the symptoms, but also for a lot of you, it will provide the opportunity for you to stop using HRT. But most of all, it will help you to not be dependent on it, because with that shortage, it's a real problem for a lot of women because of the way that it just enables you to be able to go to work, that it enables you to be able to function, just day-to-day functioning, not necessarily even functioning optimally, but just to be able to function. It just goes to show what an impact hormones make when they are in balance. So I'm going to just quickly tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who don't know me. I've been in the health industry for a long time, 15 years in the health and supplement industry. I health coached for a very long time, worked out of 2 gyms. I specialized in hormone optimization. I worked with developing police who were wanting to go then into the AOS, and then firefighters who wanting to increase their, they all have to do this fitness testing. So I spent a bit of time health coaching in that space, but my absolute favorite was working with women whose hormones were out of balance, and that was in the other gym. But for the last 5 years, I've been working with hemp, and what a game changer that has been. Over 4,000 five-star reviews from hemp. So the thing that I really want to just highlight is the range of different things, even non-menopausal related, that CBD oil helps with. Now I spend a lot of time educating health professionals about hemp and cannabinoids and how they work in the body. It was actually illegal to educate or to teach about hemp or the endocannabinoid system, sorry, in schools. And this was because of its association with cannabis. So I'm going to go through that with you today and share with you how hemp actually works, how CBD works on a system of the body called your endocannabinoid system, so that you have a clear understanding of the potential that it can have with you. I'm also a mum. I got two boys, a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old. And I'm also married to my husband, Nick, and he is the CEO of Cure. All right, so let's kick into the content. I will suggest that if you think of anything along the way that you want to bring up with me, then just type it in the chat box and I'll check it at the end. But menopause can last for a long time, upwards of 12 years. Someone can be going through a stage where they are symptomatic from perimenopausal, but even through and past menopause, those symptoms can still hang around. And so it really, really does need to be addressed. But what is actually going on? Well, estrogen and progesterone levels are dropping, and the primary gland that is responsible for producing these hormones are your ovaries. And then the adrenal glands then take over. So the adrenal glands are where we're going to focus today, because it really comes down to the strength of your adrenals as to how a woman goes through this transition. So the way I want you to think about it is that if the ovaries are running a race, then it's at this stage that they will pass the baton to the adrenals. Okay, so the adrenals then take over. Now, what most women do is that they don't know how to address the health of their adrenals. So even if they know that there's something to it, that the adrenals are important, they don't necessarily know how to. And when they have tried, the strategies that they've implemented have not impacted the health of the adrenals enough to make a difference. And so I want to say, no woman have I ever spoken to has said to me that they are happy to take HRT. All right. So most women are using hormones out of desperation. So what are the results? Well, the thing about it is that if you don't address the health of the adrenals, okay, whether you're on HRT or not, if you don't address the health of the adrenals, then the result is that you'll be symptomatic during stages of menopause, or you'll be, and if not because of the HRT, then you will be dependent on that medication for relief. Now, the true cost of medication, we don't know. I'm going to safely assume that most of you, if not all of you, will have done your research around what the side effects are or the potential side effects are of taking hormones. But the thing about it is that we don't really know the true cost. But one thing we do know about medication is that there is always a trade-off of some kind. And most of us are doing what we can to mitigate the trade-off. But the fact is that when you take medication, it is unavoidable. But I want to suggest that not supporting the adrenals could be a greater cost to you. Okay, it could actually be a greater cost, because what happens is that as the adrenals have now been passed the baton to run the rest of the race, we then start to develop into an area of severe adrenal fatigue. I want to suggest that if you're symptomatic going through menopause at the moment, even if you're starting to go through menopause, then the adrenals will be fatigued to some degree. And that will just worsen over a prolonged period of time if not addressed. So if we then take a look at what the true cost is in terms of not necessarily being on medication, but the true cost of not supporting the adrenals, right? Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? I mean, I've put here in 5 to 10 years, but how many of these symptoms can be experienced through menopause, right? So not just post menopause, but through it, right? These are these are actually symptoms of adrenal fatigue. Okay, so they're symptoms of adrenal fatigue. They're not just symptoms of going through menopause, right? So I want to suggest that the majority of symptoms can be taken care of or significantly mitigated by addressing the health of your adrenal glands. So I want to put this here to give you some hope. Right, a lot of you will have tried many things, and that's okay. Granted, it will be very frustrating. I've been there. I'm celiac, and which means I'm autoimmune. So I have been for a long time. I found myself in a situation where I was looking and trying and looking and trying and looking and trying until only very recently, within the last year, did I find a solution that has made the biggest impact for me. And I want to suggest that this could be the thing that you find that makes the biggest impact for where you are right now. So, what you can hope for is low to no symptoms during menopause, managing remaining symptoms with CBD oil, no dependence on HRT, I think, is the key. And then as well, healthy adrenals, so that when you're looking 5, 10, 15 years ahead from where you are now, that you're not in a state of adrenal fatigue. Okay, so this is what we'll go through. So we're going to go through what's actually happening during menopause, and then what levers can we pull for support. Then we'll look at how CBD oil supports this transition, and then finally how diet supports this transition. So first of all, what's actually happening? Well, I've put the complicated version on your left, and then I've put the simplified version on your right. Essentially, what you're looking at here is all the flow of how your body is making and using hormones, all the precursors. And interestingly, if we simplify that, now I realize that this is oversimplified, but here's the point. The adrenal glands are such the focus. They play the primary role of actually producing hormones to keep you alive daily, right? To the degree that the adrenals believe that the role they play are a life and death role every single day, multiple times a day. They play the role of producing stress hormones. Now, those stress hormones could be to get you out of a situation that is threatening your life. A lot of the time, though, our adrenals are so weak that the adrenals perceive it's life-threatening, but in fact it's not. It's just a stressful situation, but will respond as if it were a life-threatening situation. How we eat causes the adrenals to produce certain hormones to keep you alive, to do with blood sugar levels, but also they play a key role they play the primary role in lowering inflammation in the body, right? From wherever it's coming from, whether it be from a long-standing condition that is causing inflammation, or whether it be from a short-term acute injury. The adrenal glands are responsible for those functionings and consider it a life or death functioning daily. Now, the adrenals are then also asked to take over what the ovaries were doing, and that is taking care of your sex hormones. Now, you can see that I've divided on the right-hand side there. I've got adrenals, and then they use cholesterol as the precursor to making cortisol and sex hormones. Cortisol being your stress hormones on the left, sex hormones on the right. Now, as the adrenals decide whether they're going to go left or whether they're going to go right is going to depend on whether your body is in a state of inflammation, whether the environment is conducive for a fight or flight kind of scenario or not. See, it perceives that saving your life is more important than your comfort. It perceives that saving your life is more important than even reproducing, if we narrow it down to really what it's being asked to produce here, which is sex hormones. It's saying no, sex hormones not a priority, right? You feeling well, not as high a priority as you living. Okay, and so what happens is that too often the sex hormones are getting sacrificed because stress hormones are the priority. which leads to inflammation, which leads to symptoms. Okay, so this is why addressing adrenal health is so incredibly key. Okay, so what's actually missing here? Well, most women actually fail to make the connection with how much of an impact correct diet change and also supplement use has as the two most influential levers to pull on for relief in symptoms, whether they are using HRT or not. You see, what happens is that a lot of the time we think about supplements in a similar way to how we think about medication, right? So, for example, let's use me as an example again. I'm celiac, so I can't eat gluten. There are a lot of things I can't eat that aggravate, but gluten would be the worst of them all. And so, if I was to eat wheat, or even something that caused a digestive aggravation like chickpeas, for example, right? And then afterwards, I used the CBD oil to stop the discomfort. I would be relieved and I would be like, thank you, the CBD is working. And that's so great that it's not a medication, so great that it's natural and not causing harm to my body. And then the next meal that I ate, if it had gluten in it, I've then eaten in a way that then caused the need for me to continue to use the CBD oil. Okay. And most people use medication in the same way. Now, the thing is that it might not be for lack of trying. For most of you, it will be because you just simply don't know. It's not in your awareness yet. And so, what most women mistakenly do is they have confused weight loss or health gained through previous dieting. You see, as you have gotten into your early 40s, even late 30s, when the responsibilities of having very young children have started to leave you, maybe you're at a better pace with work, I don't know. But whatever it was, you decided that you could then put some attention on why you were gaining weight. And so you decided to get healthy and do something about the way that you ate. However, whatever you tried, if there was weight loss happening, most of you will have assumed that that meant that health was gained, right? And that is almost always not the case. And then added stress in the form of exercise when your body couldn't manage the added stress. So again, everyone is hearing about how exercise is really good for you, and for sure it is. But when we look at it in terms of where you are at with the strength of your adrenals being weak, then exercise can also be a thing that causes harm to the adrenals and puts you in a worse situation. Never able to address the underlying cause of why she was exhausted. Okay, so often this is the case. Women are always going in and out of periods of addressing health and then just not wanting to. Addressing health and then just can't be bothered. Not a priority right now. And then it's the cycle that you move in and out of. But perhaps she was never able to address the true underlying cause of why she felt exhausted, even when she perceived that she was improving in health, right? And then finally, unable to manage other health related symptoms. So, quite often, when we look at a picture of symptoms, we might have two or three symptoms that really annoy us, right? And we just think life would be so much better if we could just get rid of these two or three symptoms. But there are perhaps 4, 5, or 6 other kinds of symptoms that may not be a priority, because the other 2 or 3 are the priority, but they're there. And so it's the picture of symptoms that is definitely relevant. And in the past, when she's tried to address them, has been unable to manage it, and so finds herself in a situation where she's still unable to manage that. And so what should happen instead? So the core focus is to reduce adrenal load. And the two ways that I'm going to suggest you do that is by using or influencing your diet, and then also using CBD oil. So if we look at how we're going to use diet, we're going to do this. We're going to reduce the adrenal load, and use diet to address other health concerns. Okay, this is going to lower the demands on the adrenal glands. All right, because remember, their primary role is to produce anti-inflammatory hormones. And if you have other health concerns, they will be triggering the adrenals to work. We then use diet to prime the body with nutrients, okay, to optimize gut health and then to lower overall inflammation. We'll then use CBD oil to address other health concerns, to then directly support the adrenal function, and then to optimize gut health and immunity, which then further lowers overall inflammation. So these are all in direct relationship to how we support the adrenal glands, which then determines how you go through menopause. So let's look at the levers that we can pull. So first of all, you've got exercise, and then to the right of that, we've got supplementation in the form of vitamins and minerals and whatever other supplements we can get our hands on. And then we all know that stress impacts the symptoms of menopause. Medication, so in this instance, we're talking about HRT, and then also CBD oils and adaptogens, right? So herbs, mushrooms, and things like that, but then also diet. Okay, so these are the possible levers that we can pull on. All right, today what we're going to address is the two main levers that we can pull on, the ones that will give you the biggest bang for your buck. We're going to assume that medication is not a lever that we want to pull on. It's really just there as a need to, if we have to, with dragging our feet, really wish we could come off it kind of thing. All right, so first let's look at CBD oil, all right, and how CBD oil supports this transition. So why you should consider hemp? Well, first of all, hemp that contains cannabinoids can give you predictable relief like medication. Okay, now I'm going to almost assume that most of you are familiar with the term cannabinoids. But if you are not familiar with cannabinoids, cannabinoids are the compounds that come in hemp when made from the flowering, like the bud of the plant. Okay, the seed, when pressed, gives you hemp seed oil, which is what you can get in capsules and what you can get in a larger cooking bottle sort of sizes that does not contain cannabinoids. Okay, so hemp that contains cannabinoids, and CBD is a cannabinoid, can give you predictable relief like medication. Unlike HRT, hemp does not put pressure on the adrenals, the gut, the liver, or any other part of you in the process of getting relief. CBD-based hemp can help you reduce and in many cases remove medication from your lifestyle. Okay, so let's just kind of chunk up a little bit and just address medications as a whole. All right, so how do they actually work? Now, they work on a receptor-based system. Okay, so drugs provide compounds that look really similar to compounds that you make. And so inside your cells, you have these keyholes or these little receptors. Okay, so if the drug was in the shape of a key, your cell would have the perfect fit for this keyhole. Now, this drug looks exactly like, in terms of its chemical composition, looks exactly like this natural chemical that you make. Okay, and so therefore, the receptor allows the drug to fit inside it as if it were your own. Okay, as if it were your own. And so that's how medications work. It's this receptor-based interaction that gives medications their predictable result. Okay, it's what makes you count on, knowing that there is going to, almost with certainty, be an effect that takes place. Okay, so how does hemp work? Well, hemp also works on a receptor-based system. It provides a natural compound, which are cannabinoids, for example, CBD, that look identical to the natural cannabinoids that you make. Okay, so here is your natural cannabinoid that you make. We'll say it's natural CBD. Your cells have receptors for cannabinoids. So when we introduce the cannabinoids that are present and abundant in the hemp plant, your cells then allow them to fit into the receptor site as if it were your own, therefore providing relief like how a medication does. So it is this receptor-based system that allows hemp that contain cannabinoids to give a predictable outcome. Okay, so this is different than how supplements work, all right? Most supplements. Most supplements can usually contain such a variety of compounds that they have multiple and they have less direct effects on the body, right? Which means that there's more opportunity here for there to be a hit and miss, right? And I can show you a supplement drawer, and I can tell you that almost all of them I took because I was fingers crossed, hoping they were good for me. Very few of them I really felt were making a difference, but I continued to take them because I hoped that over the long term that they were making a difference, even though I didn't necessarily feel an impact. And that is the difference between most supplementation and how they work versus hemp, though it is a supplement, has an interaction based on a receptor-based system like medication. Okay, so how does HRT work? Well, HRT provides either synthetic or bioidentical chemicals that look similar to the ones that you make. So whether it be estrogen or progesterone, they too fit into this receptor like lock and key. However, with HRT, it is directly supplementing the lack of estrogen or progesterone in the body. So it's because your body is not, the adrenal glands are just aren't able to take, they're not willingly accepting that role to the degree that you want them to. And so they're not able to produce the amount of hormones that make you non-symptomatic. And so that's why when you take HRT, it's this synthetic or bioidentical chemical that works as its replacement, therefore supplementing your body with those hormones. Now, how does CBD support menopause symptoms? Well, CBD oil supports a system of the body called your endocannabinoid system. Now, the job of the endocannabinoid system is like the mother to all the other systems of your body. You are made up of 12 of them. Your endocrine system, which is your for hormone functioning, your digestive system, your immune system, cardiovascular system, renal system, and so on. You are made up of 12 of them, one of them being the endocannabinoid system. And the cannabinoid system has the primary role of helping to regulate the functioning of all organs and glands and maintain natural hormone balance. Okay, so it is like imperative that the cannabinoid system is functioning optimally for us to feel good, but also for there to be hormonal balance, but also for us to be able to manage pain, to be pain-free, and for many other functions in the body. But most of us have a cannabinoid system that falls woefully short and requires that supplementation. So what I want you guys to just take a look at as I pull these up on the screen is just how many, once again, different and ranging. Okay, so I'm going to show you some testimonials, but not just for menopause, but the range of symptoms that it works for. So anxiety has gone way down, sleeping really well, and energy. So anxiety, sleep, and energy. Awesome. All right, Hannah Bergstrom. She was using medicinal CBD, but didn't like the taste, and it made her irritable and grumpy, but she was using it for scoliosis. But she's finding the cure drops so effective for pain relief, but without the irritability, and they also taste nicer. Okay, so for pain relief, Angela helped her to sleep, but also it stopped her being really itchy and also has made the pain go away. She has Hodgkin's lymphoma. All right, and then Wendy, she's been using the oil for a couple of months and has noticed that she's having way less hot flushes, less pain in her arthritic fingers and foot. And then Jill, she felt an immediate burst in energy and wellness. So she's 69 years old, and the pain in her body has decreased dramatically in a short time, taking 7 drops twice a day. Okay, so you can see that the range of symptoms that it's helped with here is just so wide, and this is the reason why. Now, we talked about hemp interacting with a receptor system, and we called the receptor system your endocannabinoid system. Now, the endocannabinoid system is a series of receptors, two kinds. We can see here the lighter colored pink is your CB1 receptor, and the darker colored pink is your CB2 receptor. Now, you can see that the lighter colored pink cluster largely in the brain, and then the darker colored pink, though they're everywhere, they are clustering so heavily here that they can't even be distinguished between themselves. Like they're just such a cluster that they're not even separate anymore in this picture. That's how much they heavily reside in the gut. Okay, so interestingly, even though these receptors are attached to all the organs and are also all over the surface of the skin, because their job is to regulate all functions of the body, look at how heavily they accumulate in these two places, okay, the brain and the gut. So primarily the lighter pink receptors, they play the role of regulating your central nervous system. And then the darker colored pink is regulating your immunity. Now, how cool is it that our bodies were made to accept cannabinoids? Now, if we look at this picture, this one is a little bit more, it's exactly the same, but just the receptors look a little different, because the thing I wanted to point out here is this. See how those CB1 receptors affect the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenals, and the ovaries. Okay, so while HRT is directly providing those hormones that you are lacking to provide the relief, here, how the CBD oil is working is that CBD plus the other cannabinoids that are present in hemp are all working together to support this system of your body. And the cannabinoid receptors, they are directly attached to the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenals, and the ovaries, all relevant for supporting you through menopause. Okay, so I really wanted to point that out so you could see that the impact here is direct. Okay, so how else do medications work? So sometimes they are fitting like lock and key directly into the receptor, but another way that it can work is that the body is not having any trouble actually producing the compounds. Okay, so your natural compounds here, your body is having problems producing the compounds, but also the body is breaking them down too quickly. Okay, so for example, antidepressant medication can work like this. So one choice is to provide synthetic serotonin that fits into the receptor, but the other choice for a medication option is for it to block the receptor. And so what happens then is it allows your natural serotonin, in this example, to accumulate so that the body then can use it and can take effect. So it's the blocking of the receptor action here. Okay, so I want to just take a look at, we've talked about CBD oil, but there's another product that works in conjunction with CBD oil that I'm going to recommend, and it's called hemp seed oil and maca. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this one is because maca contains phytoestrogens, okay? And the reason why this is relevant is because they also are another supplement that fit into a receptor, okay? And so therefore, it can act as a supplement to your natural estrogen, mitigating some of those symptoms that you would have from having low estrogen. So maca is it works in unison, or it works, complementary to using CBD, okay? The other thing that it does, and this is another reason why it's so complementary, is that it actually slows the breakdown of cannabinoids in the body. Okay, so it allows CBD to stay in the body for that extended period of time, therefore enhancing the effects of cannabinoids. So when we add the hemp seed oil and maca together, and we add that together with the CBD oil, the reason why it's so cool, if we just summarize it in a nutshell, is because not only is it actually acting as a phytoestrogen and allowing the estrogen to support the lack of estrogen that you're making, but it is then also acting like how a medication would and allowing the amount of cannabinoids that are in your body to accumulate and therefore last longer in terms of their effect on the body. And so I'm just going to let you know right here that those two products together are 126.65 if you wanted to write that down. Okay, so now let's look at the other lever we can pull. We've talked about using CBD oil and how that works. Now let's look at the second lever we can pull, which is diet. Okay, so how diet supports this transition. Now, the reason why diet is so incredibly important and actually supersedes even CBD oil is because it can create an environment for healing. Now, this reduces the adrenal load so significantly that if someone were to implement any kind of medication, whether it be natural or whether it be pharmaceutical, a change in diet would support the adrenals either way, reducing your symptoms and having a significant impact on your long-term health in terms of your long-term adrenal health. Okay, sometimes we think about this the symptoms that we're experiencing right now and not necessarily experiencing the consequences of having those symptoms later on. And so the two things that I want to talk about here are hormone balancing, and also gut healing. So within diet, these are the two things that we really need to pay the most attention to. If we can focus on these two in terms of our intention when we address diet, it will give you the most significant impact. Okay, so we know that estrogen and progesterone levels dropping are what are causing those symptoms. The adrenal glands are supposed to take over, but as that baton is being passed, the adrenals are not in a condition to take over. In fact, they've already been running their own race due to the demands that you've been placing on your adrenals, and therefore they've gone in to do that second haul of the race and they're suffering, right? Which means that now they'll suffer even more. And so what is it about our diet that causes the adrenals to be in less than ideal conditions? Well, here are some of the main ones that I pulled out. Too much carbohydrates or sugars. And you know this, it's not something that you've not necessarily heard before, right? But you think, okay, then only the healthy ones because they're essential. When instead they actually cause the adrenals to produce cortisol and epinephrine, and their job is to shuttle away those sugars and carbohydrates. And so when you eat in a way that doesn't demand the adrenals to be involved, you then remove a job from its list and decrease the load. Perhaps you think losing weight equals health gained. Maybe not now, but if you reflect back on the last 10 to 15 years, any kind of diet that you may have tried when you were on that vibe of wanting to address your health, perhaps this is what you assumed, when instead the imbalance of hunger and satiety hormones when on your diet put the body in a state of stress and anxiety, which causes the adrenals to make stress hormone to help the body cope with food scarcity. And so dieting or being in that caloric deficit actually causes stress on the body. When you first eat in a way that primes the body to be able to be in a low symptom or symptom-free state of balance, then create an environment for weight loss, it does not add a significant load to your adrenals. You see, most people, when they decide to start a diet, start a health kick, right, they go into that nutritionally depleted. So the body is already in a state that it is depleted. And we know that in a depleted state, your body is already primed to produce an imbalance of hormones that tell you when you're hungry and when you're full. Those hormones are going to be out of balance already. Okay? And so then by entering into a diet and going into that with a calorie deficit to lose weight, you then starve the body of more nutrients, which is what contributes to the load on the adrenals. So first, priming the body. Get into a state of being low symptom or symptom free, and then creating an environment for weight loss if that is your goal. All right, addressing other health concerns. So you've been told that a balanced diet consisting of whole foods, plenty of fruits and vegetables is the key to good health. When instead, a person who has other health concerns, before eating for balance, must first treat the root cause. Okay, how a healthy person eats, and let's assume that a healthy person is symptom-free. Okay, so that's the criteria. Let's assume the healthy person is symptom-free. How a person eats when they are symptom-free is different to how a person needs to eat if they must address the root cause. Okay, so that's different. So what I want you to do, you don't necessarily need to write this down. I'm just going to have a drink of water. As I want you to just take a mental checklist as I go through, take a mental note of this list as I go through the next couple of pages, and just kind of do a mental check of what it is out of this list that you experience. Now, it's not comprehensive, but it's just a snapshot of what those other symptoms may be. Okay, diarrhea, constipation, so irregular bowels, bloating, heartburn, gas, abdominal pain, any kind of digestive, IBS, IBD, Crohn's, colitis, anything like that, or food allergies, intolerances, or sensitivities. All right, then what about other common symptoms like skin issues, eczema, rosacea, acne, seasonal allergies, asthma, hormonal imbalances like PCOS, chronic fatigue, joint pain and inflammation, arterial inflammation, history of anemia, any kind of autoimmune disease, including rheumatoid arthritis, celiac, fibromyalgia, lupus, thyroid conditions, anything that would fall into that autoimmune category. You see, when you eat in a way that truly addresses root cause, it always begins with the gut. Now, with all of those symptoms that and certainly not comprehensive, but if you mentally checked the box of any of those that are on that list, and even more so if there was a picture of symptoms that then started to form, right, whether they were particularly a priority or not, what it tells us is that the gut is affected. And so when people talk about addressing root cause always begins with the gut, every time. Other health concerns are indicative of a gut imbalance in some way. So here's a summary. The strength of your adrenals influence how symptomatic you are through all stages of menopause. When you decrease your adrenal load, you're enabling the adrenals to prioritize producing sex hormones. What and how you eat is the greatest lever that you can pull to influence adrenal load. Root cause healing is possible when addressing gut health first. Your symptoms are in relationship to the health of your gut. Now, while we talk about the health of the adrenal glands, if you find that you are experiencing other symptoms, then when I talk about root cause, then I'm suggesting let's go deeper than the adrenals. Okay, so the adrenals, yes, they're under a lot of pressure when you are going through menopause, but the fact is that if you're symptomatic when you start to enter into perimenopause and then menopause, the adrenals were already in trouble. Okay, they were already in trouble, and so we need to go to root cause and look to the health of the gut. Okay, so that covers everything that I wanted to cover tonight. What happens during menopause, the levers that we can pull for support, and then how CBD oil supports this transition and how diet supports this transition. So once again, if you're wanting to use the CBD oil that I've recommended, I'm going to put the website up in a second. I just want to let you know one thing. You can definitely purchase these two separately, by the way, but you will also see it as a bundle. And so if you're wanting to address it in the way that I've recommended, then you're looking for the Happy Hormones bundle. Now, this oil, right, the full spectrum CBD oil called Cure Plus, this oil comes in 3 sizes. But I'm going to suggest that when you purchase it in the 15 ml size the first time. Okay, 15 mils will give you enough to get started, It won't be enough for you to maintain on, but it'll be enough for you to get started. Then what'll happen is that 2 weeks into using it, you will get a follow-up call. And the follow-up call will then be to check your dosing, okay, and make sure that you are dosing with it correctly. And then once you're on your way with dosing, then you can go ahead and purchase the size oil that you can sit on and maintain at. Okay, now that's just my recommendation. Now, when you go onto our website to order, Cure Plus is the only product that requires a membership to purchase. Okay, so what you'll need to do is you'll see when you go onto the site and you click on the full spectrum Cure Plus oil, you won't be able to add it to the cart unless you are a member. Now, it doesn't cost anything for you to become a member, but you'll see here that you can't add it to cart until you become one. So you'll see this bit here underlined. It's very small, but click on it and it'll take you to another page, which will then take you through an application process. And then once you are a member, you'll be able to sign in and you'll see all the member pricing as well. Okay. All right. The hemp seed oil and maca capsules do not fall into that, but trust me, by becoming a member, you'll get better pricing on all the products. Okay, now we also have a program kicking off on the 24th of July. Now this is, by all means, if you're wanting to go ahead and just purchase the product and be on your way, all good. But if you are wanting to address it further and have me go through with you and get you to a baseline of health where you are low symptomatic or symptom-free, then join me as I take you through the Get Cured Hormone Reset. Now, I'm going to be starting this on the 24th of July. It'll be $300. You can email me if you're wanting to get started on that at taryn@tricure.com. And if you've got any questions, please let me know. You can email me for those questions, or you can also reach us at the support email. But the website to order the product is tricure.org. All right, so guys, thank you so much for your time tonight. I hope that it was of value to you. I know that it will make a significant difference when implemented, whether you implement one or both. So on that note, I'm going to leave you here and wish you a fantastic night and the rest of your week. And thank you so much for joining. I will be posting the recording. So if you're wanting to share it with anyone, then you can go ahead and do that. All right, have a fantastic night.